Hi everyone, this is Kenzie.
Thank you for inviting me out tonight.
Stolas is not innocent. In Season 1, he is a flagrant cheater with a complete disregard for his place in society while he's facilitating an unhealthy power dynamic between him and Blitz. Stolas has been and always has been the one in the position of power, even though Blitz is the top from what I understand. Stolas holds the power that allows Blitz to do his job, and blowing his feathery back out in exchange for a share of that power is not a good thing. I have received a massive amount of comments about this particular subject on my Season 1 video, so I thought it appropriate to address it head on. I've seen a lot of arguments and discussions between fans of the show, and I think a lot of them are valid because a weakness of my video and by extension of the show is they don't really put Stolas in the hot seat, at least not in Season 1. One thing VivziePop is known for, not by me because I didn't really do research into all of the background because I'm actively watching this show and I wanted to avoid spoilers, even though going into this video I've seen a fantastic amount of spoilers. She is known for not fully exploring or writing about these subjects properly. I think this is a criticism that's a bit more relevant to her more story-focused drama Has Been Hotel, but she has gone on record saying that she grew up in the church and questioned the Bible a lot, which a lot of agnostics and atheists can relate to, I'm sure. Her church trauma has absolutely made it into her songs and her writing in Has Been, right down to her writing a song called Hell is Forever, where she discovers that heaven never wanted to redeem sinners. The lyrics are so plain English that it feels like she's beating me over the head with a holy baton. Wait, I'm not doing the Has Been Hotel video right now, am I?
No.
Okay, yeah. That'll come later. When it comes to Helluva Boss specifically, hell really doesn't get that much explanation. I mean, it's hell. They're all there for a reason, right? In my understanding, the characters and their debauchery have always been the focus. Either you like that part of the show or you don't. And the original premise of the show, according to Brandon Rogers, voice of Blitz, was to be an office-style comedic show, and Vivzie wanted to use it as a way to explore more darker taboo themes while using heavy amounts of comedy as a backbone. Whether she was successful or not is able to be discussed, but it's all fifis at the end of the day. I don't know how you'd quantify that, to be honest. Now, as you watch, please understand something. I'm sure there are people who want me to go deep beyond the show and talk about the past, the present, and potential future of VivziePop, and while that's valid, I've come to understand that from the comment section on my last video, the people who are under there already know everything that they want to know about this woman. Even shit that I couldn't even verify, like her potential kinks and fetishes. One, gross, and two, I'm not here for that, frankly. She put out the show, and that's the part that I care about the most. There are things I like and dislike, and I will talk about them accordingly and as deeply as I see fit, but at the end of the day, this is my journey as it should be. My last video was on Season 1 only, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go watch it because it's pretty much instrumental to understanding Season 2, and I did a good job on that shit. I still at this point haven't given Season 2 a proper second watch, and I am completely blind to the episode that ends the season, SINSMAS. So, without further ado, let's get it.
It's my stress, that's for sure.
Here, how about you cease this bitch crying?
Season 1 was not nearly as story-focused as Season 2 is. This is further cemented because the first episode is a backstory about how Stolas met Blitz, and this put their relationship into perspective, and I think that's great. Without this episode, all we have is that Stolas and Blitz are in a transactional, sexual relationship where it seems like the one in the power position is mishandling his influence and almost playing ignorant to it. Like when he went to Ozzy's on a date with Blitz and didn't see it coming at all that they would be called out for it because there is a clear class issue between imps and Goetia, so that was a clear lack of self-awareness, even though Blitz didn't care about the outcome either when he called Stolas for the date, but remember, power dynamic go burr. But in Season 2, they came out of the gate swinging with a reason why this inherent power dynamic doesn't really matter to the grand scheme of the relationship, and yes, the cheating doesn't matter either. Oh my god, did you just say cheating is good? No bitch, cheating bad, but in this particular fictional ass relationship, I'm saying it doesn't. But let's start at the beginning and work our way up the shaft because there's a lot and I don't want to get ahead of myself. At this point, Stolas is a kid and he is getting ready to serve hell by studying the Earth's skies, and he is given the grimoire that allows him to go to Earth. Yes, the same grimoire that Blitz hits it from the back for. Stolas is also engaged against his will at this same age to Stella. So now we know that he is in a forced marriage with some little psycho that he did not initiate. Oh my. A little bit later, since he was literally crying at the sight of Stella, his father takes him to the circus where, you guessed it, actually no you didn't, Blitz is performing with Fizz. Yeah, that also ties back to Lululand, where Fizz is a big time performer and Blitz isn't, but we'll get there later. Stolas is literally enamored at the mere sight of Blitz, and now we know that from a young age, he'd been feeling him. I've seen people say that they wish that Blitz and Stolas should have stayed friends like they were as kids and not have started a sexual relationship in their adulthood, but I simply disagree. I don't know, bruh. You can say that he really just wanted to be Blitz's friend, but it's clear as fuck to me that there was more there. Stolas receiving imp dick in his adulthood more than explains that Stolas did not see him as just a friend back in the before times. At least to me. This relationship has always been unrequited and held back by his class and his arrangement. While he did facilitate bad situations in adulthood, I think the forced engagement and the fact that he literally liked Blitz from childhood excuses his actions a little bit. I'm sorry. Stolas' father offers to purchase Tiny Blitz from his father since he noticed that Stolas really loved watching his performance, and he sells him off for dirt cheap too. Blitz's father instructs him to steal from the house and bring the riches back though. Blitz's father is kind of a giant piece of shit if you didn't know. Also, Stolas' father is named Paimon. Oh god. Blitz gets bored of Stolas showing him shit, so he instead plays treasure hunt with him to initiate his plan to steal his shit, and of course Stolas obliges. During this game, Blitz goes on and on about how much money he'll be making, and he says that he'll hire Stolas, and they joke about it, and then they skip forward and we get a scene similar to Olivia from the Lululand episode where she walks through her broken home, but instead we get a disheveled, tired-looking Stolas walking into a kitchen with Stella talking shit about him. Classy. She also fucking hates him, like hates his guts, but we been knew that. But if you're only going off of season 1, you'd think she only hates him for cheating, but nah, she's actually just awful. Blitz enters the show again, but this time he's breaking into Stolas' house to get his grimoire, but Stolas is just wanting to do a fair roleplay type shit. Blitz initially doesn't want to fuck or anything, but he starts entertaining this while trying to steal the book in the process, leading up to more Stolas fan service. What fan are they servicing? It's me. I'm fan, in case you didn't know. Yeah, power dynamic, let's move on. They fuck, and then we get to the scene in the pilot where Blitz falls off his balcony and says, "Sorry, I fucked your husband," and Stolas tells Stella that that was the divorce. Iconic! We fast forward again to the present day where it takes place sometime shortly after season 1 episode 7, where Stolas is left passed out with running makeup from the crying he did. We didn't get to see his perspective last season, but they are essentially the same. He cried over Blitz while Blitz cried over the fact that he feels that he loses and pushes everyone away that he holds dear. Stolas then sings the first proper song in season 2, which isn't called Owl in a Cage, but I'm calling it Owl in a Cage. It's okay, it's a sad song about sad things, it's okay. Then he and Stella have a confrontation about him suffering at the hands of her so that Olivia can have a normal life. Obviously that didn't really work out, but either way, he's putting his foot down and wanting this divorce, and Stella won't take that lying down, and that's the end of episode 1. Now we know a few things. That Stolas met Blitz at a young age and he essentially wanted him for his entire life, and that he was forced into an arranged marriage with someone that absolutely fucking sucks. And just to reiterate, yes, he did foster an unhealthy power dynamic between him and Blitz. But considering what we know now from this one episode, yes, there is an inherent power dynamic, but I just don't care about it that much. It's clear that Stolas likes Blitz for real, regardless of his class, and that's enough for me to like this couple going forward. With the backdrop of this show being hell, I think it only further enforces that bad shit is slightly more accepted. Hell has always been the catalyst through which these characters are allowed to be more authentic with their flaws. Stolas is a cheater and Blitz doesn't care. Even Millie, yeah, remember her? She is a stone cold killer. Hell, all of them are, but they still manage to be characters that you are able to care about. Things like a power dynamic in this fictional show are slightly less frowned upon than it would be, you know, like in real life. Someone left a comment on my previous video where they said that this is the type of relationship that is only okay because it is between two queer characters and not a straight couple. And I can see the logic there, but I did call them a toxic couple. And people think I say that negatively, but no, it's possible to like that shit in fiction. They cannot save each other, and they aren't supposed to. I think that they are just doomed to fail. But with my power as a shipper and a hope However, I can also hope for the best, because in this show, hell does not determine whether characters have happy endings or not. Their actions do. And so far, Blitz and Stolas both do shitty things, but they are doing these shitty things in hell, so bad people can be bad. Some characters are flawed. Get over it? This episode is great for confirming so many things so soon, and I liked it a lot. So let's keep all of that shit in the back of our heads and move on to...
No, I'm not going anywhere with you, Jizz Biscuit.
This episode starts off pretty Lululand adjacent, where Stolas is telling a young Olivia a story about stars, and as a young girl, he promises to take her to see the stars and even marks it on the calendar. But of course, in the present day, Stolas is a bit preoccupied with dealing with his bitch ex-wife. So in a fit of teen spirit, she grabs her shit and goes to see the stars her damn self. On the other side of the show, Blitz also has some shit to do today concerning his daughter Luna. He decides to tell her how she can improve her client relations skills. This goes over well. This little bit is kind of whatever though, because Via breaks into their office quite sloppily, but no one gives a solitary fuck, so she's able to get his grimoire and only has one request for it: take me to see the stars. In a cruel twist of lack of clarification, she gets sent to the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. A fate worse than death is getting sent to LA against my will. The mean streets of Santa Monica are hell for my social anxiety. So Blitz, of course, has to tell Stolas that his daughter went AWOL, and they wonder where she went, but the hellhound got a nose to die for. She also says that LA smells of urine and desperation. I guess she couldn't smell the homeless person that is screaming that LA is a godless city, but maybe that's part of the urine. I also want to mention that they just randomly fat shamed the shit out of Moxie after he asks Luna can she do anything right, as a retort to him for being an asshole.
Supposed to smell anything in this city.
Can't you even do one thing right?
Can't you finally do something about how fat you are?
I'm not.
You know, it wouldn't kill you to put a salad in your body every now and then.
I get it, but I can see someone thinking this is kind of unnecessary, and it was. But remember, it's hell. It's hell. These characters are not above fat shaming. Bitch, they kill people. For the most part, this episode has Olivia as the A plot and every other thing as the B plot. So while Olivia gets to be seen more than usual, Blitz gets more character development when his disguise is reminiscent of LA's hit TV star, Brennan Ragers. Cute. The crowd steals him away and forces him to act live on TV, and bitch, forgive me for overreacting, or don't, whatever, but I love this. This is the moment for Blitz to take back the moment that Fizz took over when they were children. Since Stolas was his one sole supporter back in the day, of course he's motivating Blitz to be confident in the present day and wow the audience with nothing but his chutzpah. The crowd laughs at him because they are prompted to, so he keeps going and keeps going. Stolas loves it, of course, but the audience is tired, girl. This continues until there's a new development that happens where a new little girl shows up on stage and says that she will adopt the shitty little dog that Blitz sees as an analog to him adopting Luna. And yeah, he has a wee bit of a mental breakdown. If this scene is good for anything, it's good for showing me that this motherfucker loves his daughter. And oh my god, they could never make me hate Stolas. At the same time that was happening, Luna has been following Via on social media and eventually finds her. Also, it's called Sinstagram. Interesting. Also, Via's username on Sinsta is gothchick17. Interesting. Luna finds her and has a heart-to-heart with her. All Via wanted was her meteor shower, her stars, but instead gets a smoggy, shitty sky, which is so lame. But the real issue is that Stolas dropped the ball. He disregarded her not once, but twice, and because Stella just so happened to be god-awful, he let that get in the way of making Via happy and keeping his promise to show her the stars. Luna just tells her that Stolas isn't ignoring her completely, but he is genuinely trying to find her, and is just trying in general. Hell, both of these guys are. I'm such a sucker for this shit. Anytime Stolas and Via are able to be a happy daughter and father, I am with it 100%. Overall, this episode is good, but it's not my favorite so far. It did important things for Via and Stolas and gave me more Stolets to froth at the mouth over, but in general, it was definitely an episode. Also, Millie and Moxie was in it too, but honestly, I don't think their input was much to talk about. But they seem to immediately remedy this in the next episode called
What kind of shit has Moxie been spreading about me? I'll fucking kill you, Moxie! Don't you fucking—
This is straight up a Millie and Moxie episode down to the DNA. Millie comes in the office pissed as fuck, and it's because she saw an ex. Relatable. This comes back a bit later, but Blitz gets a call from a client that isn't sending him to Earth, but is calling him and his whole team to the greed circle of hell. Who is this mystery client? Well, it's none other than Moxie's rich-ass daddy. Now, of course, no one who's rich wants anything without having ulterior motives, so as you can guess, this is not a simple hit job. So naturally, his dad is a piece of shit, and not only that, that, but the ex that Millie saw before? Yeah, he's hired muscle that was also with Moxie romantically back in the day, but landed Moxie in jail during a heist, saving the loot instead of him. Moxie met Blitz in jail, so that's a good thing at least, but either way, in the present day, this guy Chaz is no good, extremely no good actually, because Moxie's dad plans to break up Millie and Moxie by forcibly marrying him to Chaz for his money that he recently came into. Now that's essentially the plot of the entire thing. They can't let that happen, they need to get out of the situation, and that's that. I'm gonna keep it a big stack because that's all I can do. Moxie's episodes are not my favorite. Why? Because this show is called Helluva Boss, and I want to experience the boss in question. Moxie is a chronic side character. I just care less when he's the highlight. The plot was written well enough. I didn't want Millie and Moxie to be split. That was good enough stakes, but Moxie himself is just obnoxious. He's at his strongest when he's playing his role on the side of Blitz or is leading his own side plot like in Ozzy's, where the main goal was to take Millie out, but Blitz's motivations were the driving force of the episode itself. This episode is fine, but it is a deviation from what I come to this show to see, which is either Blitz coming to terms with and eventually resolving his toxic characteristics when it comes to the people in his life, or to see Blitz shove his tongue down Stolas' throat. Yes, Blitz did fuck the pansexual shark in this episode, but that shark ain't the gay bird and the shark is fucking dead, so whatever, let's move on to
He's Striker, he's Striker, he's shut the fuck up!
We immediately come in to Stella and Stolas. Yes, bitch. Let me just say for the record that Stella's voice is an excellent casting choice. The rasp and the force behind her insults are immaculate. I can only imagine what it would be like to have that power, but unfortunately, I'm too monotone. The divorce is progressing, and Stolas is once again reaffirming that he does not believe that his cheating was cut and dry, because in order to betray someone, they at least have to have some kind of stake in it, which Stella did not. And I agree. I will once again reiterate that Stolas' cheating would be terrible if Stella loved him and the marriage weren't forced and arranged and Stolas were anything other than a boy-loving gay ass. And I'm sure someone would love to ask me, oh, but what if someone cheated on you? They did. Twice. And if you think I'm sad about it, I'm not. I'm not. Also, someone did say on my last video that it's easier to say this shit if you don't know how cheating affects people. Number one, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Well, not me, really just you. And two, on the contraire, me being the cheatee only makes it easier for me to say that I stand with the fictional bird on this societal issue. So here's the skinny with this episode. Stolas gets kidnapped by Stella's hired hitman from the Harvest Moon Festival, Striker. This is the first episode that plants the seeds of the eventual erosion of Blitz and Stolas' relationship. Stolas needs help, and Blitz sends Millie and Moxie instead because Luna needs to get her Hellby shot, which is like rabies, but in hell or whatever. Stolas is in real danger. If you remember from Truth Seekers in season 1, Stolas had to save Blitz and his crew from getting trapped by the agents of Dorks, and it was absolutely light work for him because this man is fucking OP. But now that Stolas needs Blitz, he can't show up, but he can at least send Millie and Moxie. It's unfortunate, but Blitz gotta take care of his girl, even though he infantilizes Luna a bit too much due to him not really having a healthy grasp on parenthood, due to this being his first and also adopted daughter. Also, there is a scene of him going off on this annoyingly dumb nurse at the clinic, and he almost calls her
I can't read either.
The Hellbees shot, you fucking really can't say that word anymore.
And the way this part is written makes me think a few thoughts. First off, I'm not saying the real word for your sake, cutie. I say what I want outside of this microphone, but I also don't want to ruffle any feathers unnecessarily if I don't have to like that. Second, this is hell, right? I think out of all the murder, cheating, sexual deviancy, bad driving, the R slur is going too far. I know why this joke exists. It's low-key edgy, but not edgy, right? But within the rules that have been established where almost anything goes unless you feel bad about it, it surprises me that Blitz would stop at a slur. He regularly calls people shit like titty haver. I would think light misogyny would be on the same level, but I guess not. Unless this joke isn't meant to be an in-universe observation and it really is just a tongue-in-cheek joke from the writers about how you can't make these type of jokes anymore in real society. Oh yeah, that's it. Stolas is egging Striker on as he's stabbing him in his limbs and saying that Blitz does him harder than that. Cool. Moxie and Millie are on the way. Neat. Stella's implicitly incestuous brother convinces her to call off the hit because if she kills him, she won't even get anything out of it. This leads to Mill and Mox making it to the scene and initiating a very elaborate fight scene where they're fighting Striker. And Blitz plus Luna's doctor are trying to get her Hellby shot, which is damn near impossible because she is afraid of needles. This musical number goes on for a while, but it isn't really worth diving into since no one involved is performing this music themselves, but the music is catchy and fun, and that's about it. Luna eventually gets her shot and she howls the almost exact same howl as the Mondstadt wolf boss from Genshin. brain rot runs deep, don't ask. The fight concludes, but Stryker gets away again, but at least Stolas is able to be retrieved and sent to a hospital. The same hospital, in fact, that Luna got her shot at. Now it is here that Blitz finally realizes something, and this is big for him. He literally did not think that Stolas was ever in any real danger, and him hearing that turned on a light switch in his head that, wow, this all-powerful monarch is fallible. He sends a little text message while he's in the hospital, but when Stolas sends back that he can come visit if he wants, Blitz ghosts. We can also see in his text history that Blitz is a notoriously short texter with Stolas, and look, I have gotten a lot of comments about how the show makes Stolas look like the victim with no remorse for Blitz, but come on, Blitz is a flawed as fuck character. It's these little things we see where yes, Blitz's mindset when it comes to people who care for him is fucked all the way up. Stolas really loves this imp, whether he's supposed to or whatever is irrelevant, but Blitz clearly looks bad here, regardless of his emotional deficiencies. I've gone in depth about how Blitz's character is flawed and that's an okay thing for him to be. I believe that relationships that are unbelievably unhealthy in fiction are allowed to exist, but even me as a Stolitz enjoyer wants the best for both characters, even though both characters have hardcore weaknesses that the show emphasizes at times. Maybe a bit too much. It's really clear from previous episodes that Blitz isn't only interested in Stolas as a fuck toy, but he can't cross over that line. Why not? Because of all that shit from season 1 where he is afraid to get close to people because of his fear of abandonment and separation. He sent the message that he hopes he gets better soon, and that's all Stolas gets from Blitz. I would have assumed that him seeing that he can actually get hurt would prompt more than a short generic sentence, but what did I say about assuming? Right. But great, now we have a Stolas that is aware that Blitz won't always be there for him the way that he would be there for Blitz. So let's hope he learned something as we move on to
I need medical attention!
First date is for winners!
It's a Millie and Moxie episode.
Look, lady, it's not
Okay, no, that's not really a bad thing, but this one tested my patience with Moxie. Good thing, though, that Blitz also has a stake in this one as well, but it's more of a side plot. The episode starts with Blitz breaking into an institution of some kind looking for someone he calls Barb, but she's not there anymore, so he leaves. At the office, a client shows up wanting to investigate their own death at a campsite, and they don't know who the killer is. Blitz doesn't really give a shit, so Moxie takes it upon himself to accept the case and says that Blitz put him in charge, so that's a thing for a while. Also, we learn from Blitz scrolling through what looks like Discord that he's looking for someone who just left rehab named Barbie Wire, which is his sister. Moxie is just insufferable this episode, but that's mostly because this episode's arc forces him to be. Him and Millie have to get in disguise to blend in at the campsite where he is dressed up as an annoying valley girl named Maxine, and Millie is dressed up as a chill guy named Millard. Since Moxie is a massive control freak and wants everything to go his way, every time Millie spots this obviously suspicious dude on the premises, he dismisses it because how could that be the guy if they didn't do all the bullshit Moxie thinks that they need to do to find out first. On top of that, he thinks he is supposed to be the one everyone loves at the camp, but everyone thinks he's some ugly weird girl, while Millard is the one everyone thinks is hot and charismatic. Moxie spends the entire episode making sure that Millie doesn't have too much fun being better at this than him by just being cooler. The painfully ham-fisted point is that Moxie is incredibly narcissistic, way too jealous, and will subsequently learn that being that way isn't cool, because Mox spent this entire time putting her in the backseat and invalidating her perspective while fucking everything up at the same time. Obviously, this resolves by the end of the episode with him getting his horns out of his ass, but watching it go down is just annoying as shit. But yay, Blitz is here to force feed me some Adderall so I can care about something else. His search leads him to the same camp, where that little nerd and Barbie Wire are found smuggling drugs. Also, Barbie Wire is voiced by Jenny Jung, I really hope I didn't pronounce that wrong, and she does a great job. The little white guy killed the client, so Blitz and Mox got some shit to take care of concerning him. But oh no! Barbie won't let that happen easily, so they're gonna kill somebody. Yeah, that somebody is the nerd. Rip in peace, Expendable McGee. Now, of course, Barbie ain't too fond of Blitz, but the reason why isn't super confirmed, but all we hear is that he fucked her life up somewhat. And in season 1, episode 3, when we meet Verosika, she basically says that she was in rehab with his sister. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Blitz put her in rehab after she got hooked on H8, which he mentions during the episode. He says that he cares about her and he's expressing his happiness that she's clean, but she ain't having it. Yet again, another reinforcement of his feelings that the people that he cares about, whether he tried or not, don't want anything to do with him eventually. But of course, if you know family that is struggling with a drug problem, it's never that black or white. We don't know exactly what he did, but the damage is done, I guess. Oh, and the episode ends with Millie and Moxie making up and fucking all up in the cameras of national television. I fuck with it. Let's move on.
Look, lady, it's not my fault if you only know how to make coffee that tastes like piss.
So here we have a more Fizzarolli-focused episode. Fizz has made several appearances in the show so far, with his most prominent being in season 1 in the episode Ozzy's, where him and his totally not partner Asmodeus were fucking with Millie and Moxie because they love each other. Ozzy is the sin of lust, so of course there isn't that much room for emotions and feelings, even though they are a couple, but that's a secret. Fizz runs into Blitz on the street and they measure their bussy sizes until they both get kidnapped. By who? It's Stryker again, who was hired by Moxie's dad this time around. At the same time as this, Stolas visits Ozzy in order to tell them about his problem with having unrequited feelings for Blitz, and to request a way to allow Blitz to be able to go to the human world legally without using his grimoire, which would essentially be breaking up with him. Not only is this an extremely healthy approach, but it will allow him to move on properly if, and only if, it goes that way. Once again, I ain't seen SINSMAS. While Fizz and Blitz are basically forced to talk to each other, you can probably guess that they talk about certain things, one of those things being how Blitz is into a royal. Of course, Blitz is coping hard as shit about how Stolas just wants to feel peasant cock up his cloaca, but as is severely obvious, that isn't the case. Blitz thinks that this is true, and his trouble opening up to Stolas' feelings has been explored before by me in the first video, but at least he gets to talk it out with someone, something he really hasn't gotten to do. Fizz flat out tells him that, yeah, you stupid asshole, maybe Stolas actually likes you and him being a prince doesn't matter, but it's drilled into Blitz's head that royalty doesn't give a shit about the lower class. As astonishingly true as that is in our real society, in this particular fictional situation, Stolas loves him, okay? Now, of course, I am not blaming Blitz for feeling this way at all. This is largely a class issue, and yes, most, if not all of the royals do not give a shit about imps. Usually, imps are the servants of the Goetia, not the ones they are falling in love with. So yes, Blitz is stubborn as shit, but for a deeply ingrained, justified reason. This entire scene is actually wonderful for this. Classism, medium key racism, airing out dirty laundry, the whole 9 yards, I love it. On top of that, during their escape, Fizz and Blitz also unearth and clarify the reason for their massive falling out, because yeah, they used to be close to each other. Fizz is a foil of Blitz, meaning that while they are similar characters that had similar upbringings, they went on separate paths. Fizz was always super talented and Blitz was not so much. Fizz is also shacking up with a royal demon in secrecy, but this is going much more swimmingly for him than it is for Blitz, who is dealing with a royal guy of his own. These factors, plus Blitz not achieving the life he wanted from childhood, is what drove that wedge between them in the current day. But now they can actually start a real dialogue tree instead of going down each other's throats, in the non-fun way. Fizz thought that Blitz was so jealous of him that he purposely set fire to the circus and ruined Fizz's life in the process and left him behind. But what really happened is that in a fit of anger, Blitz knocked over a dude holding a birthday cake for Fizz, and the candles set everything off. So basically the same thing, but accidentally. Blitz is finally able to tell him that he also lost a bunch of meaningful shit that day as well. He takes responsibility and says that he's sorry for everything, and while this didn't fix anything from that day, at the very least he can offer that much and clear the air. They essentially were kept separate by shit outside of their control and grew up hating each other because of it. So I, as a viewer, am glad that this got resolved, because Fizz is my clown baby boy, and I want him to be friends with my little imp baby boy. Like seriously, seeing them banter with each other gives me warm and fuzzies. Life's too short to not appreciate something like this. After a lengthy escape musical number, Fizz and Blitz make it out, but Fizz gets captured by Stryker in a desperate attempt to kill him. But nah, Blitz is that bitch, so he's gonna set fire to the whole place just so he can do what he couldn't do back then and save Fizz from the fire. Like, yo, what in the Blitzarolli shit is this? It's okay, I actually like it. Fizz makes it back to Ozzy, they get all cutesy, and then they can say fuck that letter of demands from Crimson. Ozzy also says fuck secrecy because no one will snitch about their relationship anyway, and that's essentially the end of the episode. Now, I want to make it abundantly clear at this point that the show has taken a huge departure from the Office style comedy thing that they were going for in season 1. So far, every single episode in season 2 has been pivotal in establishing something about the characters, either big or small. Stolas, Blitz, Fizz, Olivia, Millie, Moxie, etc. I had a whole other list, but I can't remember that shit like that. They all got something explained about them, or they got written in a way that allowed me to feel something about them. Yes, season 1 has done the same, and I have gone in depth about that, but holy shit, they focus so much more on further establishing personal details this time around, especially when it comes to Blitz and Stolas, the couple couple I pay special attention to because I like them. Duh. Oops, in particular, has done something that when I first watched it, I didn't even know I wanted for real, and that was mending fits and fits. Oops, in particular, has done something that when I first watched it, I didn't even know I wanted for real. What? Oops, in particular. Oops.
Probably put that in.
Yeah, probably. Oops, in particular, has done something that when I first watched it, I didn't know I even wanted for real, and that was mending Fizz and Blitz's relationship and also making sure that they are friendly at the same time. I loved it and the episode along with it. Let's see what the show does next, huh?
Shut up! I was thinking of one!
Should have been faster.
Whore!
Slow ass bitch.
In this episode, we get introduced to yet another big bitch demon in charge, Mammon, the sin of greed. As a result, he is a hyper-capitalist, money-focused, child-exploiting, morally bankrupt. Wait, am I still talking about the show? Spoiler alert, I don't like him. He sucks, but I'm not supposed to like him, so the character does his job well. Also, he is a blatant misogynist.
Women just ain't funny. Anyway!
Just gonna keep it a stack. I find shit like that hilarious. I like when a writer can poke fun at themselves. This is all taking place during a time where Fizz and Blitz were younger and were friends with each other. Mammon is Fizz's idol, so when he thinks he can get a chance to work with him, he is all starry-eyed, but Blitz doesn't think he needs all that from Mammon. But whatever. A Fizz stan follows and accosts them, trying to strong-arm Fizz into letting this fucking weirdo perform with him. Blitz separates this bullshit, and then the superfan immediately starts saying that Fizz's act is shit and isn't good and yada yada. Basically, every hate commenter looks like this incel fuckface. Also, speaking of hate comments, there's also this anime called Mayonaka Punch that's essentially about dealing with this exact same thing, and I mentioned this because I made an entire video about it, and anime corpo bitches took it down, so if you join my Patreon for free, you can watch it and see how to survive getting canceled on the internet. Damn, did I just shamelessly plug myself like that? Yeah, go watch it, please. Back to the episode though, Fizz gets motivated by this dumb asshole to practice more so that he'll be good enough for Mammon, but in the present day, all Mammon does is exploit Fizz and uses his likeness for these robots that are essentially Fizz's for every occasion, like a Barbie or something. Of course, Fizz ain't super cool with this, but he's also super insecure about being perfect for Mammon to use in his vicious cycle of monetary garbage. Mammon started a pageant way back when to find talent for him to use, and Fizz won every single time, so of course, Fizz wants to keep winning to make Mammon proud, because that's his idol, right? Wanting to make someone proud of you that you've looked up to your entire life is something that a lot of people can relate to, and even worse, when the person you're busting your ass for doesn't even see you. He doesn't see ya. You're not looking at me, boy. Extreme Pink Panther-esque, by the way. This episode can be summed up in a quicker amount of time than I've been doing, even though this episode long as shit. I'll see if I'm a liar by the end of this. Basically, it's about this pageant that Fizz wants to win. The episode is also about the fact that Fizz is so mind-fucked by Mammon and his idolization of him that he flat out lets him body shame the shit out of him and once again, fucking hate him. Pageant shit happens for a while, Mammon manipulation of Fizz happens for a while, and after all of that, the Stan from back in the day rears his ugly ass head and starts heckling Fizz at the pageant, calling him a sellout and shit. He attacks his most sensitive areas emotionally and damn near re-traumatizes him. This only works, however, because this all stems from Fizz's insecurities that he holds deep within already. Blitz is trying to keep him steady and be the voice of reason, but Mammon keeps butting in and trying to keep Fizz making money. The constant struggle between people telling Fizz that his whole motivation is due to a dickbag that wants to make money off of him and his own idolization of said dickbag is core to this episode in general. There's also a song in this episode that I actually like quite a bit called Clown Bitch. It's neat and I like it. It's a sex positive song essentially about selling their bodies for sexual pleasure for the benefit of making money for the sake of greed. It's high energy and provocative and I would listen to it again. Plus these two have a great duo character design. Big ups from me. Fizz is scared to death of losing to these two because they are the new hot shit and he wants to win so as to not lose the approval of his idol. This entire situation is triggering Fizz's anxiety because of how he feels like if he loses Mammon, he loses everyone loving him. He says that he owes Mammon everything for giving him his life of fame, fortune, and Ozzy, but he forgot to realize that Ozzy actually loves him for him. He also reveals that he doesn't have horns anymore, and him being Fizzarali was kind of a mask for him to be a better him. But Ozzy, like the sweetheart he is, confirms that he is just good the way he is, and no amount of losing Mammon will change that. Warm and fuzzies! There's also another song, and I think it's good, good, but it's essentially singing what we already went through in that little sweet moment, so you can use your imagination on that one. After their love song, the incel barges into the room with the intent to kill, but Blitz blows his fucking head off, thank goodness. Damn, there is another song. Okay, time to mention this again, or at least I think again. This script and my last video were pretty long. The songs are good. Pretty much all of them check the box of good, but I tend to like the songs that aren't just the episode continuing, but in song format. This episode is the most musical one in the series to date. Oh, you mean MAMMON'S magnificent musical mid-season special is a musical-focused episode? Oh my god, how could you not know that? But it's just not my taste. And when I eventually get to Has Been Hotel, the musical drama Vivzy Pop show, I may need to make some concessions for how much I bring this up, because from what I remember, I watched that show twice. There is at least 2 songs per episode, and they are hit and miss. So far, the songs in season 1 far surpass what I've heard, but even then, I am simply not here for the music. I much prefer the characters doing things and progressing personal arcs, not doing musical numbers of minimal consequence. If you like it, that's fine, I promise. But that is why I am choosing to only talk about songs if they personally stick out to me, so that I don't over-criticize something that ain't for me in the first place. Oh, and the song is really good. It's essentially him taking his life back and saying fuck Mammon. I love it, but I definitely would only listen to this in the context of the show. Cotton Candy and Vacay to Bone Town are the ones on my car speaker, just to be clear. So there is a big standoff between Ozzy, Mammon, and Mammon tries to blackmail him with the secret that the sin of lust loves someone, but he ends up telling everyone there anyway, and now that's a thing, so Mammon fucks off while saying he'll regret revealing that, and that's essentially the end of that. Episode good, fuck Mammon, Ozzy, and Fizz forever. I am loving how much development they're giving Fizz while Blitz is supporting him. It's like how they were when they were children, except Blitz isn't jealous or anything. He's just being a decent guy, and I love that for him.
Sure hope this glass doesn't break.
Now, here's where this show takes a turn for going straight ham on Blitz and Stolas. At the point I'm saying this, I still haven't seen SINSMAS, but what I do know is that these next 4 episodes before SINSMAS had me in a chokehold on first viewing. The full moon is the start of them finalizing Blitz and Stolas' plotline, and I may not be super normal about this as I'm watching this, but we'll see. I write my scripts as I watch, so let's get it! Yeah. So this episode started off with the sound of music, and I don't know how I forgot this, but at least due to this, Blitz just flat out says what he is doing. He actively avoids talking about the hardball shit with Stolas by just focusing on the sex part of things. Yes, that's what he's been doing, but he just flat out says it here. Tonight is a full moon, so if you remember from season 1, a full moon is when they have their night of debauchery for their arrangement, but this time, Stolas is planning to call off the arrangement entirely, while Blitz is actively only planning to fuck and keep things casual like usual. I'm gonna guess this song is called When I See Him because they keep saying that. So after that song, B-Plot comes in from stage wherever the hell, and a woman loses her baby down an unusually dangerous street. A man stops it, but oh look, it's the dumb fuck critters from Cherub. In case you didn't know, these sheep things got kicked out of heaven in season 1 because their actions resulted in the death of a human. So they're trying to earn their way back in, and the amount I care about them is below sea level. So let's get to the interesting shit. After a successful job, Blitz tells them all about how Stolas has been giving them ways out of doing their monthly fuck sessions, and Luna tells him that Stolas might just be getting bored of him, but we clearly know that isn't the case, but it has been 5 months since they did anything, which is wild. B-Plot, the angels are helping the agents to hunt demons, and they go to hell through a self-made portal, don't give a shit. Blitz is going around prepping for the big night while the angels are following him in mech suits fashioned after demons. Of course they get found out by Blitz's crew and get their asses kicked, so let's speed this up. So, Blitz arrives at the establishment with a bag of sex shit to meet a dejected Stolas. He asks for his grimoire back in order to give him the crystal that allows him to go to Earth legally, but when he does that, Blitz says that if he's not fucking him good enough to keep the book, he can do better. Blitz is losing his one attachment to Stolas, and of course, he doesn't believe anything he's saying, taking it as sexual roleplay and not a declaration of love. This is all Stolas needs to hear, because he stops Blitz in his tracks and tells him good luck in his endeavors and goes away. But then Blitz reacts in probably the worst way he possibly could. Blitz walks after him, saying that he sprung all of this on him at once, but no, throughout season 1, Stolas definitely tried to show this side of him, the side of him that cares about him outside of sex, the side of him that loves Blitz for Blitz, and not because he's some peasant that he can get his rocks off with. Like I said, I don't blame Blitz for feeling this way, especially since he is projecting the problems of Stolas' class on him as an individual, but it hurts. Not because Stolas is innocent or whatever, but because this action from Stolas only further unintentionally cements what Blitz is thinking, which is that this royal asshole just threw threw me away, like I expected him to. Blitz is definitely ignoring the fact that Stolas said that he is doing this to make it so that they can exist together without the chains of the arrangement. But once again, Blitz just can't connect the dots that maybe this bird just simply is in love with me. I especially hate this because him being in 2 episodes with Fizz, who is also dating a demon of high status, he can't, not for 1 second, think that maybe he can get that too? Stolas tells him that he does think highly of him while crying his eyes out, and Blitz attempts to say sorry to him, but he portals him out of the house. There's always a breaking point, and Blitz reached it with Stolas. Whatever they had before this is over. Now, of course, the episode had a few really huge bombshells, but the actual content of the episode was just kind of okay. Not a whole lot happened, but what did happen was extremely impactful. Let's keep the momentum going and go headfirst into
Fuck Blitzo in the fucking ass!
Blitz has gotten very used to being chased by this bird and subsequently keeping him at dick's length. So now that the roles are reversed and Stolas is putting up the stone wall, now Blitz is chasing back. Of course, this doesn't work because he's only trying to win Stolas over with sex promises, something that Stolas really doesn't give a fuck about right now. Stolas tells Blitz during his failed attempt at getting bird ass that someone invited him to an anti-Blitz party, which apparently happens regularly, and the invitees are all people who have beef with this little boy. Of course, Blitz gets pissed about this, but even more so when he reads that the letter was sent by Verosika fucking Mayday, bitch. Our queen is gonna be back on screen, and that automatically makes for a good episode. But before that happens, they talk about why such a party exists in the first place. Blitz goes on and on about how no one can tie him down and relationships are boring, yet he's right there on Stolas's doorstep. I guess now I can visit something I talked about right about on the first paragraph. I've seen people in my comments talk about how the show only paints Blitz as the bad person, while Stolas essentially gets away scot-free, even though he did bad shit too. Well, this episode is pretty much one of those where Blitz is the bad guy, so let me reiterate some shit before we continue. Stolas did do bad shit. He facilitated an unhealthy power dynamic that included a transaction of a sexual nature. He also cheated on his wife a fuck ton and yada yada. I said all this before, but Blitz is straight up being an asshole here. He is consistently projecting his beliefs of the higher class onto Stolas, even if he's constantly being told that it isn't true. And once again, I don't blame Blitz for shit he's doing. Read my lips. Blitz is not to blame. Because this shit runs deep as hell within the demon's society, Stolas being so flagrant with his actions publicly makes him and Blitz look bad, but just like I don't give a shit about Stolas being a cheater for reasons I stated earlier, I also don't blame Blitz for doing a racism and classism speedrun any % against Stolas. Stolas even says that Blitz says things similar to how Stryker does, and Stryker literally holds the racism glitchless world record. But in case you were confused about how Blitz really feels about Stolas, after Stolas asks him if he ever apologizes for all the shit that he did, they made sure to include a fantabulously voiced response where Blitz spills his guts about how he assumes the worst about Stolas because he doesn't feel like Stolas could ever love someone like him, and he doesn't apologize to people because he hates himself so much. Real. If anything, I haven't seen anyone complain about how often in season 2 that the writers just make characters spill the reasons for their madness just in case you couldn't put the 4 puzzle-piece puzzle together yourself. The characters' motivations aren't ever super complex, but even then they'll have these heart-to-heart moments that don't leave much up to the imagination. And while this isn't a huge problem for me, I think more literary young philosophers may have more of an issue with this. I'm kind of a dumb fuck sometimes, but even I will pick up on subtlety if a story doesn't flat out tell me. Also, just to add, but the voices in this show are perfect. Literally everyone kills their roles. I haven't said this yet, so yes, this is true, especially for Moxie, Millie, the main cast, everyone. So since he says that he can apologize to literally anyone that he wronged, except Stolas, because he believes he doesn't owe him anything, and while I agree that he doesn't owe him anything, the stuff he's saying is pretty fucked up, he then goes on that apology tour the episode is named after, and his list is pretty decently girthy. He apologizes to a bunch of characters that we've seen before, like the agents, the cherub things, the works, and now he has to go to his exes at that party. Stolas is at the party, and he doesn't really fit in that much, mostly because he doesn't hate Blitz for real, but then Verosika runs into him, and she does hate Blitz for real. So much that there is a cake of him, and she stabs it dick first. He's a bit shy, but then Verosika puts him on stage as Blitz's freshest ex, and he's finally able to sing about just what Blitz did to him in a song called All to You, parentheses, motherfucker. This song is damn good, and Stolas can sing, bitch. That bird got pipes, and this song got Beck-type vibes to it, or something Pearl Jam would make. It is truly a standout song with a catchy hook. I'm personally just happy Stolas could finally say all of this in a way that makes Blitz feel something for a change that doesn't warrant a shitty shitty quip at his expense. After the song, Blitz goes after Stolas and has a true heart-to-heart with him, and he tells him straight up that he actually does feel bad and sorry for the shit he said, but then Stolas, in a drunken fit, tells him what he really wants, and it's basically a boots-on-ground relationship. This makes Stolas cry his eyes out and tell Blitz to leave, and Blitz doesn't really object to this. He wants to, of course, but he can't even bring himself to give Stolas a consolatory hand on the back. But don't worry, because a juicy hunk of Demon Man comes up and asks Stolas for his hand to dance, and Stolas accepts. And Blitz just has to be okay with that, and so does any Stolas enjoyer, me included. Shortly after, Blitz just straight up goes to Verosika, and now they get to hash it out, and they essentially have two perspectives in this conversation. Blitz feels like he's all of a sudden the bad guy for not being a good partner, even though everyone is shitty, because this is Hell and Hell has shitty people, so why the fuck is he so special and hated? And Verosika is getting on his ass because he doesn't understand that your actions have consequences, and him wanting sympathy for that is not something she's a fan of. When shit gets too serious, Blitz will pull away, his anxious attached ass, and he'll be good with you right up till you get a bit too vulnerable. No one likes being that person on the receiving end of that. Does that mean you have to love every single relationship you're in? Of course not, but there are healthy ways of handling those situations, and since this party exists and happens every single year, let's just assume Blitz is a giant short asshole in relationships. When Verosika is done going into her emotions related to how Blitz tore her apart when they were together and explaining why the party exists, he says nothing but, you're right. He doesn't want to be this person, the guy that everyone hates, the one that can never be loved because he doesn't trust anyone. He wants to be loved and accepted just as much as anyone else, but self-hatred is a son of a bitch, ain't it? Verosika points out that Stolas looks like he's having fun with the other guy, and yes, him and his tongue are getting very exploratory, and Blitz gets jealous as shit, but Verosika calms his ass down and tells him that if you really want to change, be happy for his ass instead of jumping to possess someone you don't want in the same way that they want you. And they leave on a note that doesn't really imply that Verosika and him are cool, but at the very least, she probably hates him a little less now that she sees that he's not truly as evil as he comes off. He goes outside, hops in the van, and he slams his head on the car horn, and that's the end of that. The short and sweet of it, this episode is immaculate. This is the most healthy outcome I could have thought of for Blitz and Stolas at the time of me seeing this back in June, and I thought that maybe this would be a new leaf for Blitz and his emotions. Yeah, I knew that Stolas wouldn't just up and marry this random party dude, but him being able to just kiss another guy that isn't his childhood crush is huge, and that made me super happy for him. As for Blitz, well, he might just have to get over it and find someone more willing to be his plaything instead of leading on an amount of people so large that it could fill up Deep Space fucking Nine. But that's cool. We got 3 episodes left. 2 I gotta rewatch, and they are pretty recent, so I may not have to ruminate on certain things as long, and the 1 episode I still haven't watched. So let's see where this new emotional beginning for Blitz takes us in
A ghost about to get a mouthful of I don't know, something sexual!
As if the goddesses themselves read my mind, this is an episode with Millie in it that doesn't also primarily involve Moxie. Also, just for the record, I don't specifically hate Moxie. Hatred is the catalyst for having bad skin, but I don't like him nearly as much as Millie. Millie is a super positive character that I couldn't dislike even if I tried. The other office members are dealing with a bunch of shit that Blitz fucked up because he's sulking over the loss of his Burdussi, and Millie tries to cheer him up, but it is a bit too soon for that. She gets a call that a client is there, so she goes to see what's up, and as typical, someone died, so they need to do something about it. Because this is a Halloween episode though, she got killed by a ghost, and Blitz wants to fuck it to cope with his recent loss. So they're gonna be doing that for 20 something more minutes. Yes, bitch, it's a Millie and Blitz episode, and I couldn't be happier. But only a few things happen in this episode that I think I need to speak about specifically. The episode's proceedings are pretty fun, and I like it a lot, but later in the episode, Millie and Blitz have a tiny falling out because of how much he is dragging his ass because of Stolas, and she is tired of his shit. He isn't taking the job seriously, and he fucked over their finances, so she splits up from him to try to do the job, and he's left alone in a vent. While he's crawling in the vent, he starts slipping on some oil. He can't stop slipping on crude oil. You know, the black stuff that comes in barrels? He slips and slips until he falls out of the vent, but oh no, that isn't the real Millie. He's just part of an illusion, I'm assuming from sniffing that crude oil. The illusion brings him to several sensitive parts of his mind. The parts of his mind that thinks that he's always the one needing help, that he destroys the lives of everyone that he comes across, that he's the problem and the solution is leaving him behind, and he doesn't think that he can change. This all culminates into him seeing his mother and her subsequently burning up in flames, saying that this will always be his life. Goddamn trauma jump scare. Millie finds him freaking out in one of the rooms, and he is screaming about the shit in the illusion, but then he tries to bring him back down to earth by recounting the time they first met. Millie's backstory, which also serves as Blitz's backstory, is neat to say the least. Millie deserves deserves the screen time because she is fucking dope. She used to be a hitman and they literally met with the two fighting over a stolen hit. Fuck, these characters are so awesome. Millie says to him that he is the reason why she is so willing to be a better her, because he didn't give a shit about what people thought of him, so she followed suit. She didn't think that she would be anything other than a farm girl, and being able to work for Imp literally changed her entire perspective. Blitz literally changed her life. So yeah, they had a teeny tiny argument, but that will never get rid of the history that they share. Blitz is scared that everyone will eventually hate him, and yes, he's flawed as shit, but Millie is literally his best friend, and oh my god, I love it! So after that, they start fighting the actual ghost, and then the ghost manages to strap Blitz down to a chair and starts showing him all the bad shit he went throughout the show, mostly involving the people he loves. This ghoul's gimmick is essentially to break him down mentally and then have this clone of Blitz take back everything he said about Millie during their heart-to-heart. Of course, that shit don't work. Millie and Blitz electrocute the shit out of this mean man, and this episode is essentially over. Some other shit happens, but nope, it's over. Like I said earlier, the episode is great despite me glossing over most of it, but I just think Millie and Blitz's dynamic is genuinely one of the best things the show has to offer. I like a hell of a lot about this show, but Millie being able to reaffirm Blitz in the way she did peaks above some of that stuff. I'm sure everything they said to each other was healing for him, and I hope it sticks. Now let's go to the last episode I watched, called
The Shredder is jammed!
Then figure it out, Moxie!
So here's where the Blitz and Stolas storyline takes a turn that made me pop the fuck off to all of my friends that don't watch this show. But bitch, I was ecstatic. But we'll get there. Stella and her Andy and Lele ass brother are sipping coffee as she spills the tea that Blitz was using Stolas for his grimoire. The brother is extremely taken aback because he could have used this
Factoid.
to take down Stolas and take hold of the power he wields, because as we know by now, demon traversal between hell and earth is crazy illegal. This sets in motion the Blitz gets arrested arc, and everyone who works for Imp is going to the slammer, so they gotta run.
Get ready for a life on the run, gang!
They don't get very far. Now they are in court on trial for stealing a goetic heirloom. This narrative is pushed by the sister fucker, of course, and we also get a good look at Satan, and he's interesting, to say the least. The trial is filled with a beautifully stacked cast of characters, the royal family, the deadly sins, the whole nine, and it's really fun seeing all of them in one room. The brother is constantly saying that Blitz was the one that took advantage of Stolas, turning this into some kind of forced, aggressive situation, feeding into the negative image that royals have of imps. He also just be up here lying, pinning the assassination plot on him. Obviously, he's a giant frosted asshole. He's also not allowing Blitz to speak, while at the same time not even having Stolas join in on the festivities. Very calculated. It's super clear to us, the viewer, that the trial is a crock of shit, seeing as Stryker, the corrupt witness in the trial, is brought in to lie about who hired him, and he literally asks for his next line. Come on now. When Blitz finally gets to speak, he puts his entire dick in his mouth, metaphorically. I'm noticing a pattern with this man. People are advocating for him to be able to speak, but of course there are others who aren't. So the powers that be call for the entirety of Imp to be executed, publicly at that. Now here's the wild shit, okay? In an act of selflessness, he takes the entirety of the blame, and because of this insanity being televised everywhere, Stolas finally sees this go down and makes his grand entrance, stopping the axe that is about to decapitate this man. It's a beautiful Stolas wallpaper, I will say, but the episode is far from over. This leads up to another song called Mastermind, which is a musical number that is simply fucking great in meaning and composition. Stolas essentially says that Blitz is not nearly calculated enough to have orchestrated this shit like Slip and Jimmy. No, Stolas is the one behind it all. He is saving Blitz from dying and throwing away everything because, as is said in the song by both of these star-crossed lovers, I would rather die than live without you by my side. The song itself is bombastic and of the high quality that I've gotten used to when the creators decide to say fuck it and make a musical. The visuals are striking and memorable, and overall had me in a chokehold from start to finish. After the musical number, Stolas is going to be executed instead. Of course, Stella is thrilled about this, but oh wait, since he's a Goetia, they actually will just exile him instead, which wasn't really the plan, but oh well. Now Stolas is stripped of his title, status, and he now has to live among the peasants in hell for the next 100 years. Since Stolas has nowhere to go, his daughter is now under the custody of Stella, and he has nothing to his name anymore. He is now right there on the same social level of Blitz and is now staying with him. He puts him under a warm blankie and he tries to tell him something, but Stolas goes straight to sleep in a blink, and Blitz Blitz looks out of the window with a cute-ass smile on his face, I'm sure because the love of his life finally did something that made him believe that he was really in love with him. Now that the power dynamic has essentially been equalized, there is another thing about the show that I want to address. I know that some people have said that the show has gone far away from its original premise and vision, and honestly, yes, I agree. I'm making sure to cover every base I possibly can before we get into the final episode of season 2, but we have one last stop. What about the shorts? Helluva Boss, a while after episode 7, released a mini episode called Helluva Shorts, which is basically a purely episodic affair that can basically be about anything they do. These mini-sodes are kind of a return to form for the series, being a sort of day-in-the-life format instead of being driven by a previous narrative. The shorts definitely take place after whatever episodes they come after though. Now, since these are shorts, I am also gonna make this segment short. I wanna watch SINSMAS, damn it. Hell's Bells is good. It focuses on Millie and her sister Sally Mae becoming closer to each other after Millie doesn't really come home as much. They talk this out and fight for a bit and live happily ever after. I like that Sally Mae found a way to get developed and my girls deserve happiness. Mission Antarctica is good. It's an episode where they go on a mission. Throughout the episodes, they sometimes are seen coming back from a mission that we don't get to see, so these shorts are basically our way of seeing them without taking time away from canon events. In this one, the group is faced with a beastly penguin-sized threat and they have to get home, so Moxie has to throat the shit out of Blitz's Asmodean crystal to create the portal. Nothing really gets developed that much besides seeing how work goes for Blitz without the grimoire, but either way, it's good. Mission Weeaboo is great and is my favorite short. It introduces a character that low-key became a fan favorite overnight named Emberlyn Pinkle. She's an uber cringe, terminally online girl that still lives with her parents, so essentially any younger Gen Z. Blitz is hired to kill her and he attempts to, but it doesn't work the first time. She has some merch from some show she likes and this pendant protects her from actual demons, but here's the twist. She actually wants to die by the hands of a demon because it's just like her erotic stories. Then Blitz kills her. Very reluctantly. I like this character a lot. I think it's really funny and cute to make the characters based off of tropes from real life. And making one of a chronic Fujoshi monster lover is peak, I'm afraid. Mission Chupacabras is good. Blitz gets captured and put on display on a roadshow looking ass thing and the agents show up from dorks and he escapes. It's good. Okay, so now I have tackled every single motherfucking damn thing that I can think of. Stolas at this point is stripped of everything. He's living with Blitz now and Blitz has his entire family back, including his boo thing. So where could this go? I'm excited, so I'm gonna go ahead and watch SINSMAS for the first time, and I will see y'all on the other side. Wow. Holy shit. So yes, this episode was 100% worth the wait in my opinion, but as far as breaking it down, it's actually quite easy to do so. Stolas is living with Blitz, and he is having an extremely hard time adjusting, and by extremely hard time, I mean, nah, this shit ain't gonna work. Did I expect it to go this way? Yes, but after a lengthy honeymoon period, and that shit did not happen at all. Stolas came into this situation a broken man on frame 1. In episode 1 of this season, they show that Stolas needs pills to keep himself not depressy spaghetti, but without access to them, the depressy might be a tad bit hard to fight off. He starts to ask Blitz if he can get him some, but then he decides not to. This is what rock bottom looks like, by the way, in case you didn't know. He isn't used to shit tier food, shit tier living conditions, and above all, he is not used to being separated from his daughter, which Stella and her brother are enforcing and being huge feathered dicks about. Blitz tries to take him out on a walk around the town to live life like him, to put it simply, and of course, since this dude was previously a royal, everyone hates him on sight. Everything just simply sucks, and he is so not used to being poor that even the prospect of having to make money drives him mad. After he copes with this a bit, he is now the new secretary of IMP. Who's the first client he has to deal with? Oh, no one. Just a woman who got left by her man for another man, and she even suspects him of cheating, and they have daughters on top of that. Sounding familiar? Yep, Stella Light just walked in this office complete with her own helping of ordering a hit out on that guy. Of course, Blitz and Stolas are a bit hesitant to do this job, but oh well, gotta pay the bills somehow. Olivia, in her own perspective, is sad as shit about the events that took place, not because he's not around per se, but rather the reason for his departure in the first place. Ever since Lululand, she has expressed her discontent at her father for not being there for her after promising the opposite several times, yet he has shown up for Blitz on several occasions. Whether it be Blitz or Stella, he has always allowed an outside force to cause him to neglect his daughter. She is a teenager that grew up in a broken home, and this culminates in a song by her called I Will Be Okay, named similarly after the song that I adore from season 1 called You Will Be Okay. I'm sure this is pretty obvious, but it is named this because it is a song about how she can't depend on him to keep his promises anymore, so she will have to depend on herself instead and grow apart from Stolas and his lies. She's not a little girl anymore, and she needs him to show up, and as far as she's concerned, he made his choice. The song is also amazing, and the animation is mind-blowingly top-notch. It also has remnants of You Will Be Okay type cinematography. Olivia's coming of age deserved this amount of care and attention, and I'm glad she's received it. This one's also on the playlist. After the song, she stumbles upon Stolas' happy pill stash, and she gets reasonably upset about this because she essentially found a box of I'm the reason he needs these. Later on, Stolas is stuck with a client that's waiting on the crew to return, and Stolas receives a call that he expects to be them, but it's not. So he has a teeny tiny mental breakdown that leads him to finally realize that yeah, his glorified sewer slide stunt he pulled was actually the worst thing he's ever done. He leaves in a fit of raging euphoria, and he's gonna go see his baby girl by any means necessary. During that, we follow Blitz and his pack to see what the hell they are doing, and they come up on the family they are supposed to unkill. Also, Millie throws up out of nowhere, and I thought this was her reacting to the snowman, but we'll get there later. The family is so sugary sweet that Blitz literally envisions them as him and Stolas alongside Luna and Olivia. This imp is so down bad for this blue blood, it's insane. Blitz calls off the hit because of this, and Millie is a bit snappier than usual at Moxie. They go home, but like how Stolas went to find Liv, Liv actually shows up looking for him, and Blitz takes her where he thinks he went, to his previous house. Stolas is there, he beats the shit out of Stella's brother, and this leads to a miraculous fight scene that is so titanically awesome that it topples season 1 episode 6's fight scene like a Jenga tower on a cruise ship. There's Stolas fan service out the ass, Luna fucking transforms, Millie uses a fucking gun for a change, which is huge. Everything in this scene is fucking majestic, and I have to give the animators their flowers. I am seriously not worthy. Eventually, Olivia splits up this squabble and sends that stupid bitch packing with her own Azarath Metrion Zinthos ass powers, and then arrives one of the most painful scenes I have seen in the show so far. Olivia tells him full on about how he lied to her, and that he left her when he said he wouldn't. She also questions him about his meds and the reason why he needed them in the first place. After a powerful speech about how he didn't love her, but he loved Blitz, she walked away from him with mirror walls separating them, and he goes after her with desperation to no avail. He has truly lost everything. His daughter is gone. I want to make something perfectly clear before we move on because I think this needs to be said just in case I haven't already, but as much as I have said that Stolas isn't exactly unredeemable for his situations regarding Blitz, that is only regarding Blitz. His actions with and having to do with Olivia are absolutely unacceptable. She has had to suffer with a broken home, a cheating father, a shitty mother, and even then, he couldn't take her to see the stars, and he's been out of touch with her for years. He has allowed his imp mistress and his annoying ass wife to get between having a good relationship with Olivia for far too long, and he deserves to reap what he sows. Straight up. He didn't get to be executed after his grand gestures, so I think everything he's gone through in this episode was a good enough punishment. Olivia's moving on, and I love that for her. As far as Stolas is concerned, no. The ending is bittersweet. During a SINSMAS celebration, Blitz and Stolas have a little soft talk. After this talk, they both have a sweet moment, and when they hug to send off the episode, Blitz is smiling during it, but Stolas is not. Stolas is probably going to take some time to accept his new position as persons whose actions finally caught up with him, but we'll see in season 3, right? Also, Millie is pregnant, and she's stressed about what she's gonna do, but in a group full of murderers, I'm sure she will be protected at least. At least it'll be born into a family full of flawed people who try their best. Oh my god! So that is everything I can possibly say about Helluva Boss Season 2. I have no idea how long this is going to be, but I made it to the end, and I think I'm happy with this. Just to make it abundantly clear, I love this show a lot. If I didn't, I wouldn't have talked about it for this long. You are allowed to talk about the things you love with a bit of criticism sometimes. It's allowed. Just know that this and my previous video was made with a shit ton of love. If you like this and want to see more of me and my videos, make sure you subscribe and turn that bell on so you can keep up. And if you really liked what you saw, I'm on most relevant social media platforms like Twitter, Blue Sky, and Discord. All of my links are in the description. I also have a Patreon where you can support my work if you are so kind. I work hard and I'm always working hard, so I want to feel like I earned this shit. Also, I have a second channel that I live stream on. It's a nice little cozy gathering for cute bitches, and I'd love to see you in the chat, so make sure you go there as well. And while you're busy doing all of that, make sure you stay safe, stay hydrated, and this is most important for all my future and present cute bitches. Stay cute.